Okay, welcome back everybody to QuickBooks. So, for today's lesson, we're going to be looking at how the sales process even works. So, from last week, we got to look at vendors, right? We got to look at how or what it's like to create a vendor, and we got to look at how to pay them. So now introducing to the sales process, we're going to be talking about what it is to, in order to have a customer, right? We're also going to create the customer in our customer list. So everything that you learned from chapter 4 is, if not identical to chapter 2. So especially setting up your customers is identical to setting up a vendor, okay? So we're going to go ahead and do that as well. However, the only difference here is that when we're actually looking at the sales process, we do also, again, have two different types of customers. However, instead of how a vendor is, if we have cash vendors, right, we just simply write a check and we're good. In this case, we actually are going to be recording our cash customers and as well as our credit customers. So we are going to be looking at two different sales forms that we will be entering in. That's going to essentially record sales as a whole, but one of them is cash sales and the other one is actually creating an accounts receivable. So we're going to take a look into that. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started here. So how to keep track of company sales is based off on those two types of forms, a sales receipt and an invoice. So pretty straightforward. If we've all know, and we commonly do this, if you are a person a company that sells an item at a store, at a location, right? People can actually go into your physical store and make a purchase of an item from you. Of course, you're going to give them a receipt. Pretty straightforward, right? If they pay in cash, pay by credit card, at time of the sale, you're going to give them a receipt, okay? So that's a sales receipt. But if they call you or they say, hey, I'm actually just taking quotes or whatever it is, and they order something from you, then your best bet is to just send them an invoice and bill them later. Okay, so before we dive into that, the first thing that we're going to be looking at is actually setting up our customers. So if everyone could be on page, not this page. I think we're going to be on page, here you go, on page 34 is where I need you guys to be. But let's go ahead and introduce you again to the setup of the customer center. So again, the exact same ways you can enter in the vendor center is the same thing as the exact way for customer center. You have the customers little tab here on your home page. You have the customer icon. So this is a default setting that you should have your customers right here, customers. And of course, on top of the menu bar, you have your customers little thing here. First thing you have is the customer center. And again, it is identical to your vendor center. Okay, you get a list of all of your customers with their respective account balances. You get for each name that you select on, you have a little window on the right side that gives you pieces of information about them. And then, of course, at the very bottom, so if I were to go here, I'd be able to also get to take a look at every single transaction that I've had with this particular customer. So it's identical to your customer center. And like I said, I mentioned earlier, exactly how you enter in a new vendor is identical to entering a brand new customer. Okay? Now, here's a little fun fact that's also in your book as well. Yes, you can have someone who can be a vendor and a customer. The only difference is because you're entering in the same exact name, there's one thing that you need to do. You need to differentiate between the two by creating, you can make the profiles identical, but the name has to be slightly different. So for example, if I have Bob Mason, if he's a vendor and a customer, you're going to have to associate Bob Mason for a customer with a letter C or something like that. And then create the profile in your customer center, but also create a profile in the or in the vendor center as a vendor. You would associate it with the name change, like slightly different. You cannot have two names that exist in both the customer and the vendor center. They cannot be identical because QuickBooks cannot differentiate between the customer and the vendor. They just only associate it as a name. So that's why exactly that you need to make a little minor adjustment if you potentially have a customer who is also a vendor. Okay, just a little tip and a little FYI here. So just like how we got into the customer center, we're going to go ahead and enter it in using the new customer/job option. And yes, just like I talked about earlier, you can also put in a list of your customers in a form of a list, right? You can add multiple people in at the same time, just exactly how you can do it for the vendors as well. If you have a preset list, or if you have indeed used QuickBooks or are using QuickBooks and you're in the middle of a company or you established your company a while ago, yes, you can enter in everything quickly by copy and pasting over a Excel spreadsheet or just a customer list itself. But of course, that's going to be something more advanced. So I'm just going to show you how to enter in one person at a time. So I'm going to go again up here to new customer/jobs, and I'm going to go ahead and say new customer. Okay, so here we are. So there are two things you also need to know as well, or another thing that you need to know as well. The name that you enter up here is what's going to display in your customer center. The name that you enter here is what's going to be enlisted in their when you bill out invoices to them, or if you need to create a customer statement, that's what's going to appear on their letter heading. Okay, so that's the difference between the two, and we always know that, especially when we're looking at an individual, you always want to alphabetize them according by their last name. So in this case, we need, if you want to enter in it twice or differently on both sides, your general rule of thumb is to go ahead and enter it in at the top right here first and then fill out the form. Now, if you forget to fill out the top part here and you fill out the form here just the way it is, it's going to automatically fill this in as first name first and then last name afterwards. So it's always important that you do fill this part in first, especially if the way that we want to organize our information is based on last name first. So in this case, I believe we are typing in Fang, comma, Tim. That is the person that we are having in here. And of course, account balances or dates of when this person was your customer. It could be relevant to you, especially if they have an existing balance with you. Just know that if you do have an existing balance, or if that person does have an existing balance with you, what you're going to do is you're going to actually re-enter in the invoices and everything up to date. You never want to start an opening balance for any accounts, because what usually happens is that you may set that they owe you money, but every time they make a payment to you, it's not going to have any reference point to which invoice they're paying for. So usually general rule of thumb is you always leave this blank. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this guy was our customer last year in January of 2019 sounds better, since he may have many transactions with us. So January 1st of 2019. So now that's there. Now this is where, see, this whole part's not filled in yet. So of course he's not his own company. He's just an individual customer. Okay. But this guy, is a fancy doctor. So we are going to title him or address him as Doctor. Okay. And then first name is going to be Tim. His middle initial is optional. Usually that kind of sets apart, especially when you have customers with the same name, because yes, it is very true. You can have a million people with the same exact name. So for example, someone named John Smith. You can bet how many people in the world have the same name as John Smith. So usually a middle initial is a good indicator of a difference between certain people. Okay, so Mr. Tim S. and it is Fang. Okay, so now that I've typed it in here, now the part here where I've already typed it in doesn't get filled in automatically. But if you guys review my video on Thursday when I entered in a vendor, when I entered it in here, it automatically populated up here. Now that's only typical if you actually do a company name, just so then, you know, you don't have to fill every single box. It will automatically fill for you. Now, here's a weird thing. It says that his job title, you need to put an owner. What is he an owner of? Okay, there's no company that is associated with him. So there's really no point you actually have to fill as he's the owner. Yeah, he's the owner of himself. That makes no sense. So I'm going to leave that one blank. Okay. So next part is going to be the main phone number. So I believe the phone number is
408 555 8298.
8298. Perfect. Does he have a work phone number? I don't think so.
No, it just says main phone and then it goes to email.
Perfect. So main email is going to be, I believe it's DRF for Dr. Fang at DF?
df.biz.
df.biz, which is weird because he doesn't own his own company. So we're just assuming maybe that's his personal email. Okay. I'm going to ignore website because he shouldn't have his own website, because then he'd be, again, you wouldn't be selling to a company. You'd be selling to a company, not a customer itself. So all those things, other CC emails, not really. Work phone number, mobile phone number, fax number, all these things that are not going to really apply to a customer, but that doesn't mean, again, this is also just saying in case your another way to reach the person is by directly reaching the actual company. Okay. So then we're going to go ahead and come down to the very bottom where we need to enter in his actual address. So I believe, what's his address?
300 North. Here we go.
North.
North means, oh, no, actually, mine in QuickBooks from the file that I downloaded is different from the book, so.
What do you mean it's different?
Well, in the files for the class, it says Tim Fang, 300 North, or it says 300 Main Street. The phone number's been wrong, the email is a little wrong, so it's different in the book than it is in the already portable file that I put in.
Oh, okay, because Main Street is our location.
Right, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so So the portable file gives me different stuff than the book. So do I need to change it or?
You might have to add. Okay, so every portable file. So again, if you actually look at every single chapter, so this is also something I need you guys to also remember is that every single file that you download, right? In the beginning of the chapter, it will tell you exactly which file to open. So in this case, this one says that this chapter uses sales-18 QuickBooks working file. Okay, that's the portable file that we're looking at and using, just in case you might have opened up a different one. But there shouldn't even be a Tim Fang, period.
Here was. So, see, I did the line. We can talk about it later. It's not a big deal because I was having some problems with some of the stuff downloading it anyway, and I was going to ask you about later. So,
Perfect. Okay, I'll go ahead and assist you after class.
Can I
you
ask
know
you
what?
one question?
Go for it, Michelle.
So if I'm following along with you and I haven't downloaded that specific workbook and I enter this, is it going to cause an issue
Absolutely.
later for me?
Absolutely not. So every single portable file that is existing in the classroom file, it's just so that it helps you practice this along. Now again, if you are working on a solemnly like empty file, for example, when we did our in chapter 12 when we created the Academy Photography, that's a blank slate. So by you entering this information in, it's only helping you build the file. Now, because each one is going to be a separate file, it's just in other sense, it's just showing you. So then, because in this file that particularly that I opened, we're going to continue throughout the whole process. Like we already have people set up already.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, because like we're gonna be looking at making sales receipts for 3 people.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the only difference is that this one is just if you're using a blank file, you only have this. You're only setting up this one person.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's only the only difference. No, and it does not affect anything after all because at the end of the day, after we finish completing the file, we don't ever use it again.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if you're building it from square one, only more for you. Okay. So again, here you go. Tim S. Fang, owner. I don't know why he's an owner. So right here it does say 300 North 1st Street. So 300 North 1st Street. And he's in San Jose, I think. I can't remember if that was San Jose, California.
95138. 136.
Oh, 136, okay? And of course, we have that little easy option to say that his billing address is going to be identical to his shipping address. So we can go ahead and click that copy. We're going to confirm that this is correct information. And we're going to go ahead and click OK. Now, notice one thing too here is that there are options that we can choose for shipping addresses. You can make as many shipping addresses as you need for each client because, for example, this guy might be buying a present and shipping it to someone else. So if that's the case, then that is also one of the reasons why you're able to create as many shipping addresses because if a customer, they can have another billing, they can have a location that they want to send the package to. So again, it gives you options to be able to do that. All right, but we're only looking at option number 1, which is shipping it directly to Mr. Tim Fang. Okay. Now the next section here is we're going to be looking at payment settings. So again, just as similar as before, okay, we have an account number. Now this account number is the account number that we provided for him. All right. So we're looking at a customer to us standpoint. Like this is the account that we gave them. Okay. So what's this account number? I believe it's like 6 something.
3546.
Yep.
3546. Oh yeah, 3546. Okay. And of course, this is where we can actually create a credit limit. So this is what we offer to this particular customer. So I believe the credit limit is going to be $8,000. Now, what's so cool about QuickBooks is now that we established that we do have a threshold, or we do have a little a limit to what he can purchase, QuickBooks will notify you in case this person decides to make purchases and they haven't paid their account balances off yet. It's going to notify us that, hey, this person has went over the credit limit, and then they'll give you the option to either say, okay, let them pay more, or they say no, you can't, that they'll automatically cancel the account or cancel the order and just say no, you max out your credit limit. Okay. And then right after that is going to be a price level. So we talked briefly about this. This is just categorizing your customers based on what you want to charge them as. So this is the example, is that they're pure commercial. They don't get any special prices or anything like that. But let's say they utilize you as a wholesaler. They're purchasing from you as a wholesaler. Then yes, you may make an extra type or an actual code or a price level to associate with this particular person's information, like saying, okay, this person, okay, if they're a residential or they are a wholesaler, right, or they're a retail store, I can tax exempt that, or I can give them discounted prices based off of that. So that's just what that is, okay? In this case, we already know that he's just a regular commercial customer, okay? Now, here are payment terms. So we talked about terms about last week as well. So in this case, we can actually tack on a few things here. I believe we do give him terms. Is it the 2% or is it the 1%?
Net 30.
It's just net 30? Okay, so I guess we don't give any special discounts to this guy, okay? And then it says to leave the email as preferred method of sending an invoice. That is completely fine. And this is where some people prefer paperless statements. So if his preferred way of sending him his statements or his invoices is email, then let it be, okay? And then again, preferred method of payment. So again, this is where we can have the option where he often pays with a cash or a check, or even pay with a specific credit card, right? I think he does pay with a credit card. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Visa. Okay. So this is where we can actually save his credit card information. This is legal, okay? However, the only thing that we cannot save is the security code, the 3 digits that appear on the back of the credit card. The one that usually when a customer does charge this, they ask them, what is your security code? So then they can validate that, yes, this is a transaction that I am making. However, you're not allowed to save that. You're only allowed to save the credit card number, okay, for reoccurring or, if someone wants to charge your card again and they don't have to enter in their details. Now, you can also make it optional where you require them to type in their credit card information every single time, just so that you can, limit the possibility of fraud. That is up to you. But again, this is just to make it a lot more easier when a customer does indeed say, hey, I want my credit card to be saved on file, or I need to charge my credit card based on every transaction that we have. So again, it should be 1, 2, 3, 4 times 3. Okay. What was his expiration date?
2020. January 2020.
January 2020. So it expired this year. I'm gonna go ahead and make it up and say it's due. It's okay, not 2021. Let's do May 2021, just so then it doesn't remind me that it's expired. Okay. Name on the card is going to be Tim S. Fang, unless he goes by his legal name. Okay. And then, of course, addresses, it's going to be whatever he gave us. Now, if he has a billing address that is different, then that's where you're going to actually fill it in. But see, I didn't even have to touch anything. It automatically pulled the information from my previous bubbles or previous forms, and it populated for me. So this is another way how it can quickly populate for you and enter in all the details for you without you even have to type it in. And this also prevents you from also making extra typos as well, because you've already entered the information in the first place. So all it is just copying and pasting into your QuickBooks. Okay. And then, of course, if he does have a credit card or a what do you call it? If he does plan to do electronic funds transfer, that's where you go ahead and select that. But in this case, I'm gonna leave it the way it is. Okay, that's if you do use the online service. But in this case, I'm not going to do anything online for now, so we don't need to select that. Okay. Then the next portion that we're going to be looking at is going to be sales tax and sales tax settings. So again, because he is a regular customer, we're going to go ahead and charge him at the regular tax item, which is just regular sales tax. Okay? He is not an out-of-state. He's actually going to belong to the county of Santa Clara. So that, not Contra Costa, Santa Clara. Just so then every time we build a invoice or we build a sales receipt, it's going to automatically populate that he belongs in the county of Santa Clara and he should be taxed at this rate. So this, every time you enter in any information in regards to a customer, it makes it just more easier to fill out a sales form. Okay? And then, of course, the last section says here, resale number. I don't think there is a number in here. So I'm done with this section here. And then lastly, we are looking at our additional information. So customer type, again, is going to be business because that's exactly what they are doing. They are just a business. They're not a referral or a retail or a wholesale. They're just a regular individual. Okay? And then you have another little thing here for a sales representative to go ahead and enter in here. Now, because this is a preset form, there's already employees that are already filled in this exact form. But we won't talk about employees until chapter 10 when we actually set them up, which is not until towards the end of the 4 weeks. I believe it's the last couple chapters of week 3 we actually look into entering employees. So but that means, what these people are is they could be sales representative. Maybe these are people that actually earn commissions. So you want to make sure that you do kind of categorize them based on who does this customer belong to. And in this case, it's going to belong to Mike Mazowski, okay? So that's going to be the sales representative here, all right? And then lastly, it's going to ask you for a custom field here. It's going to be county. What county does he belong to? And I believe this is also Santa Clara, okay? And we talked about custom fields. We talked about if you needed more information about this particular customer, you can go ahead and add more details in this one. But of course, all of this is in chapter 7, okay? And we also got to take a look at it when we actually entered in a vendor on Thursday. We got to look at making custom fields, and you can create them as you go whenever you'd like. You just go down to the bottom and click define fields, and you can create whatever custom field that you would like. But in this case, it's been done before. You guys know the drill. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it there. Now, last but not least, which I mentioned this before, there is a little tab for job costing, okay? And typically, this is only if this person frequently has jobs that are associated with this particular, whatever, whether it's you buying an item for them or whether it's a person, like every time they have a photo session, there's a particular vendor that they always use, or for example, you always use to complete the job. Now, this is only necessary if you want to keep track of your transactions based on who's the customer, like what the job is entailing, and if it belongs to a specific customer. Now, if you don't have if you don't have job costing available, you don't have to do it. Again, this is just another way to separate your expenses and your income and actually categorizing based on particular customers. You don't actually have to have this. It's not necessary unless you want to further break down your income. So in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and skip this section here because it's actually not as relevant until we actually get to take a look at in chapter 9 when job costing is a huge chunk of the reason why you have it. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to ignore it and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So once I click OK, it should be highlighted in green. I don't know why I didn't highlight, but there you go. There it is. It's Feng Tim. Okay, last name first, then first name afterwards, in order. Okay, so there you go. That's how you enter in a new customer. Okay, identical to entering a vendor. The only difference is some information is a little different, such as that little job costing section, and maybe a few things because you can enter in your own credit card. But other than that, that's exactly how you enter in a customer. Okay? Any questions?
Nope.
Okay. So now that we have that, I talked about job costing. Again, it's only necessary to use job costing if you intend to tack on specific customers for a particular job. And again, we'll take a more closer look at utilizing job costing to its advantage in chapter 9. So it's just something that you want to set up when you build your customer profile list. Okay, but again, it's not something that we are going to go through. See, as you can see, very small section on job costing because it's not prevalent here. It's prevalent in other chapters. Okay. So now we can finally dive straight into actually recording sales. So again, we talked about two different types of customers. You have your customers that actually pay you physically in store. And then you have the customers that you actually bill invoices out to, or you let them have an account with you and you extend them a couple days for them to pay you back. So we call these, we have two separate sales forms for them, and one of them is a sales receipt and the other one is an invoice. So again, like I've mentioned before, typically when you have a person that pays at time of purchase, you generally give them a receipt anyway. You give them either a digital receipt or you actually get the actual cash register that produces the receipt for you. Straightforward. Okay? And that's the first one that we're going to be looking into is actually looking at customers that pay at time of purchase of whatever it is that they have, whether it's a purchase of service or whether it's a purchase of a product. Okay, so in this case, we're going to go ahead and practice this very first one, which is going to be entering in a sales receipt for this particular person. And I believe the person that we're looking at is going to be Mr. Jerry Perez. Okay, so if you guys could kindly be on, no worries, don't worry about that. I believe if you go on page, what page is this? Page 42. Bottom of page 42, we're going to be comparing exactly what the sales receipt is. Okay, and actually filling it out that way. But before we can even do that, let's go ahead and review how many different ways you can actually enter in a sales receipt. Because just like we looked at yesterday, entering in a bill, okay, you're going to find some kind of similar kind of feature. If you can enter in a bill this way, imagine how many ways you can enter in a sales receipt. So let's go ahead and explore those options. So the book only tells you 2 ways, the home page and actually doing it on the customer center. So let's go ahead and explore. So the first one is going to be obviously on the home page. That's always your go-to is your home page. That's always number 1. So here you go. Create sales receipt right here. Okay? Second one you can go to is going to be at the top of the window, your customer's menu bar. Here you go. Create sales receipt. Oh, where is it? Create sales receipt right there. Okay. And then of course, every time you go into the actual customer center, whether it's through the home page, menu bar, or icon bar. Okay. So here I am. I can go at the very top where it says new transaction. I can go ahead and enter in a sales receipt that way. Okay. I could also enter in a sales receipt by clicking on the person, right click, and I'd be able to create a sales receipt this way as well. Receive payments, where am I? Create invoice, sales receipt, where are you? Sales receipt, create invoice, estimates, payments. There you go, create sales receipt. Okay, right there. And then, of course, lastly, if you just click on the person's name, you can even manage a transaction by going straight forward and then clicking sales receipt that way. Okay? So that was a total of 6 ways that you could enter in a sales receipt. Any questions? Those are the 6 ways you can enter in a sales receipt. Since I'm already here on the customer center, I'm going to go ahead and just go in at the top where it says new transactions, and I'm going to go ahead and enter in a sales receipt. Okay, so there you go. It populates it one for me. Now, because I selected someone's name, automatically it's going to say, did you want Cruz Maria? You can always change this. And in this case, no, I don't want Cruz Maria. I want Jerry Perez. Okay? Notice that Jerry Perez doesn't exist in my customer list. I'm going to double check just to make sure. Nope, we have a Ron Berry, a Maria Cruz, and no, we have a Tim Vang, which we just added just recently. So no, we don't have anybody that's existing under that name of Jerry Perez. So what's going to happen is if I go ahead and press enter or tab, you remember rule of thumb, you always want to press tab. It's going to say, well, we couldn't find this person that's existing in your customer center. So would you like to quick add this person? Yes, we'd like to quick add them. And we already know that they're already a customer because one thing's first is, hello, you're creating a sales receipt. You never really create sales receipts for your vendors unless you have that profile available. Okay? Class, what class does he belong to? I don't think he has a class. Oh, no. It says San Jose.
Oh, San Jose, yeah.
San Jose. There's only 2 classes we can choose from. San Jose. Perfect. All right. And then, of course, you can leave this one here. So this is in case you have a specific template that you want to use. So we talked about templates in Chapter 7. Being able to create personal invoices, sales receipt, or whatever kind of sales form. In this case, I'm just going to keep it at custom sales form. Whatever. Okay. Now, next thing is going to be the date. So I believe it's going to be the 27. January 27, 2019, 27. There we are. And then here goes the sales form number. Now, whatever number that you want to associate this, you can create whatever number that you'd like. So since this is our very first sales receipt ever, once you've entered in this particular number in, QuickBooks would continue on with the whatever sequence number that you choose. So in this case, I believe they tell you to do 2019 1 for the sales number. Now, oftentimes what you can also do too is if they created an estimate, and if you created an estimate for this particular customer, then yes, you can enter in your estimate number here. But in this case, I'm creating my sales receipt for the first time. I'm going to choose 2019 1. All right. Now, before I select my payment, my method of payment, I'm going to go ahead and fill out the bottom first, and then fill in the rest of the information as afterwards. So the first thing that we have here for the items is, I believe it is an outdoor photo shoot, and we requested 3 of them. Okay, so again, I just go ahead and type in OU. Okay, there you go. Outdoor photo session is right here. So that's because we've already created these items in this working file. It's a pre-existing one already. Okay, again, it's going to fill in the description of what this item is, and it's also going to give you that it's a service, and it's also going to give you a price range. So because I haven't put the quantity in, if I go ahead and put 3 in, it's going to automatically calculate my total right here, saying, okay, well, 3 times 95 is going to give you a grand total of $285 for just that outdoor photo session itself. Okay? Then I believe he also purchased a premium photo package. And I believe he bought 1 of those. And because a premium photo package isn't a service, it's actually, I believe the premium photo package is you're getting your photos like edited and as well sent to you, then that is what that particular thing is. So there's that one there, and it's for $85.
It's actually 2 we bought.
He bought 2? Oh, okay, my bad. All right, so he bought 2 of those instead. Okay, so there you go. And of course, he is Santa Clara taxed, which is 8.25%. And here you go. It automatically calculates the tax for you, and it also gives you your total amount. Okay, so again, it's being only taxed on this particular item because services are usually tax exempt. You don't pay tax on services. Other things that you can do is you could send a nice message to your customer. You can also say something like, thank you for your business. Okay, so this one's a preset message. Now, of course, you can always create your own message. You could be thank you, or happy photos, whatever you want to say that's going to be to your customer. You can say anything that you'd like, but in this case, we already have a preset message that says just thank you for your business. In your memo, so this is very important that you do fill this out. The memo down below is not only a reference point for you, but when you do actually create customer statements, which we'll talk about tomorrow, is that it lets you also, it pulls the information of what their transaction in detail is. Because what's gonna populate on their side of the form is that they have a sales receipt for this total amount. But it doesn't give you a description of what in detail what they bought from you. So that is actually where this memo comes into play. They bought 3-hour outdoor photo session. Okay, and premium photo package. Okay. There you go. Now, this is not only a reference point for yourself every time you pull up your information. You can also see that this is going to appear on their customer statement when you send those out to them. All right. Again, tax is there. And once everything looks good, everything matches that window that you're being charged, that you're billing out, or he's paying for the $469. Now that I have my total amount, now I'm going to go ahead and actually verify how he paid me. Because again, sales receipts are at time of purchase, right? You pay at time of purchase. So in this case, I believe he wrote a check to us. Okay. And what check number is that going to be? 3459. Okay. And this check number is going to be also utilized in both the transaction list that we see as well as the customer statement too. It will show that this person paid with this particular check number, okay, on this exact sales receipt. So again, QuickBooks is it pulls a lot of information as you fill it out. And of course, that number is going to come from obviously the check number that you receive. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and save and close. Now it says all this, you've entered all this information and you want to save the changes. Yes. Once you get that beep of approval, Jerry Perez is now a new customer. Okay, there he is. Again, if we look at all of our transactions, we should be able to pull up his transaction. There it is, sales receipt with this sales number, and it gives you the check number that he paid with, okay? Cool? Yes? Yep. All right.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our graphic depiction of the flow of transactions. So here we've entered in right here a sales receipt. Now let's follow this line through now that it connected here. Now the next thing is, where does it go afterwards? It goes into the record deposits icon. Now, it depends on how you set it up. You can set it up. It tells you in the book that you can set up your account to be under an undeposited funds account, and then you would have to physically transfer them. In this case, I'm just going to ignore that because it's already been set up. It's already been done. And the only difference between setting up an undeposited funds account is pretty straightforward. At the end of the day, you're holding onto the receipt. How are you going to actually put it into the bank? You need to physically go to the bank and make a deposit. Okay? Just knowing that this is how things are, okay? And that's what you have to do. And of course, we'll talk about that. We will do an example of making our deposits, but we'll also take a look at what happens when we find discrepancies if we forget to record our deposits, okay? In chapter 5 okay? So with that being said, that's the flow of transactions. We're going to complete a few more, and then at the end of the day, that's when we're going to go ahead and record our deposits. Okay? So that is entering a sales receipt. Okay? Pretty cool, pretty straightforward. And yep, it's easy as that. Just setting up your items and just going bam, 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 filling it in just like a form. Pretty straightforward, quick and easy. Okay? So, any questions in regards to that? No. Okay? So again, the next example here is actually going to show you how you can also apply discounts if you are having a store-wide sale. For example, we're going to give a 10% discount to this particular person. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to go ahead and enter in a sales receipt. Okay? But this time, it's for a particular person. I believe it's, let's go ahead and take a look at our customers and let's look at our options. I believe it's for the Anderson wedding. Sarah and Michael, I believe, is our person that we're going to be looking at. Sarah and Michael, here we are. Okay, so you can select them. And then once you get to here, you can go ahead and manage transactions and go ahead and enter in a sales receipt. So there you go. Here it is at the top. It says here, this is the person that you want to do. Go ahead and click tab. And once you've done that, then all the information that you have in regards to them is going to populate. Okay. Now, what about their class? Do they have a particular class that they belong to? Oh, wait, hold on.
Okay, I don't see them.
Where? Yeah, that's too far. Oh, I'm sorry. We're supposed to enter in Bob Mason. My bad. Okay, so actually, no. Let's scratch this real quick. So we're not gonna talk about the discounts just yet. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. So this one says, oh, you're gonna leave this transaction. No, don't record it. Okay, so let's go ahead and look in our book to see what the next one is. So we'll talk about the Anderson wedding after this, actually. So the next portion that we're actually going to be looking at is going to be looking at how to enter in an invoice. So go ahead, everybody, be on page 46. And we're actually going to be entering in our invoice. So again, this is a person that's not going to pay at time of purchase. They're going to pay after. So there you go. We're going to make the assumption that we are going to be creating an accounts receivable. Okay. So again, you may come to the customer center. For in this case, we have Mr. Bob Mason. This name is familiar. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and create an invoice this time with Mr. Bob Mason. Okay. So here you go. His window is popping up. There's a cool new feature for the invoices. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that does say Bob Mason. And I'm going to go ahead and click and tab it. So once I've done that, there you go. Now all of his information again is also entered in as well. The only thing that we don't have here is a class. And he belongs to the San Jose class. Okay. So I'm already here, class, San Jose, boom, right? The date is also going to be the same date, good, so that's fine. And now we're gonna be looking at the invoice number. So as we look carefully here, right? This number is going to be 2019-106. That means there was already an invoice that already started with the 2019, and now it's going in order for every single one. So this is invoice number 106. Okay? So notice that there. Okay? Another thing too is now we see that here we have the terms filled in automatically, and it even gives us the date that we're going to ship it out. Okay? And if there was a purchase order that was attached to it or linked to it.
No, sorry. I can't hear you very well. Sorry. Thanks, sorry.
So yes, so in that kind of case, if Mr. Bob Mason had called you in advance and they ordered something from you, and this is your duty to just go ahead and place it into whatever it is, like place the order in and bill the person, then you may also enter in a purchase order number itself. Okay? But that's okay if you don't have one. I believe we're skipping that section there. So here now we're going to be looking at how to fill out the rest of this information here. So the first thing it's going to ask you is going to be quantity. Okay, so in this case, I believe we have one, is it indoor photo shoot or what is it? another outdoor photo shoot. Let me see. One indoor photo session. Okay. So again, just typing in the few letters into it, it will automatically populate it for you right there. Okay, so indoor photo session. All right, it's still gonna cost you $95 for the indoor photo session, and that's okay. We only had 1 hour worth. So again, if you do need to see the sales form, you may go ahead and adjust your windows so then you are able to see everything. So the tax is service, $95, San Jose class. Okay, so you can adjust your windows accordingly. He also bought something else. He also bought a standard photo. Yes, correct. One, right? And he bought a standard photo package. Here you go. Standard photo package. Okay. And that's $85. Okay. And of course, it's going to be taxed for it. Now we're going to come down here and we're going to be looking at, okay, so that's his grand total. I believe Santa Clara is still there.
Yeah.
Other than that, we're almost done. You fill out what your memo you want to say to your customer. So again, thank you for your business. Memo is going to be 1 hour indoor photo session and standard photo package. Okay. And then everything, now that it looks good, we give in terms for Mr. Bob Mason, 2% of 10 net 30. So again, when we actually place this information in there, it's actually going to notify us when this bill is actually due. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and look, everything looks good. I'm confirming that everything looks good. And he owes us $154. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Close. And there you go, beep of approval. Okay, the transaction has went through. Okay. So as you can see, entering a sales receipt and entering an invoice, they're similar. The only difference that you have here is you're setting up terms on the invoice. And then for the sales receipt, you're setting up whether they paid, whether with cash, check, or credit card. Okay? And that's pretty straightforward. The way you enter in a sales receipt is similar, if not identical, to entering an invoice. And that's going to be constant throughout this whole entire session here, is that everything is going to be similar and everything that you enter in, especially when we're entering in forms. And that's majority of how you're going to be entering in your transaction is going to be based off of a form. Okay? And they make it a lot easier for you by auto-filling. Okay? So any questions in regards to entering a invoice or a sales receipt?
No.
No. Okay. So other than that, there is something that I think, again, for the millionth time, I don't know why they always mention the income tracker last, but I think it's very essential, especially because we just entered in more information. So again, by clicking this, we see that all of these invoices are already pending. And as you see, again, we started that the invoice that we just placed in there was 2019-106. As you can see, here are the remaining ones that we were looking at. So we started off with 2019-101 here, then 102, 103, 104, 105, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we have a pretty good overview of how many invoices have already been created and sent out. And here it also gives you pretty much a little synopsis of, okay, well, here's all the things that have been unbilled, okay, and here's the things that have been Again, time and expenses, which we don't have any, and we'll talk about that in chapter 9. And then here we have the outstanding account receivable balance for a total of $4,723. That is outstanding, or I mean, that is currently, and then we have a total of this overdue. So because we are working in 2021, obviously these files were created with the intention that these sales happened in 2019. So we're just going to ignore that. But it allows you to get to see this too. It allows you to see when you set the date out and when it's actually due. Okay, so that's really cool here. So again, here's the date that you sent these invoices out. This is actually when they're due. Now, it's not going to tell you when the discount period is due. So then, of course, you want to make sure that your customers are responsible for that. But it doesn't tell you the discount due date. It only tells you when the bill is actually due. Okay? So with that being said, you also are able to enter in your transactions down below here as well. So here you can create a sales receipt and you can create an invoice. So again, this is the one where I don't know why they leave it till the very end of the book to introduce to you. This should be actually one of the first things they introduce to you as a way to keep track of all the sales receipts and invoices that you do incur as far as keeping track of your income, aka the income tracker. Okay, so that's another way you can also enter in your transaction this way as well. Okay, any questions in regards to income tracker? No. Okay, so again, we got to look at entering a sales receipt, and we got to look at entering a actual invoice. Let me see. So we've completed the first two. Now we're going to talk about calculated discounts. So of course, when you actually are, so we do have the option when we see someone pay and you give them terms, that's one form of discount. Now, the one that I'm going to be talking about is more in general when you actually are creating either an invoice or, let's say, particularly today, if you purchase from me, we have a store-wide discount right now. Take advantage of it, and this is how you actually are going to be completing it. So this is the one I was talking about that has that Sarah and Michael person, okay? So sorry about that, but let's go ahead and fill it in and see how what they're going to get from us, okay? So again, I think it is going to be creating an invoice, okay? So let's go ahead and create an invoice. So with that being said, tell me, what are the ways to create an invoice? How many ways can you create an invoice? And navigation-wise, you got to be very specific on where to go. Okay?
First, you on the icon.
Icon, where?
Page.
On the home page. Good. You got the create invoice right here.
Or you can go to customers.
You can go to customers where?
On the customers tab on the homepage as well, right there in the center.
Oh, okay. So good to go to the customer center. Okay. And we'll go there. We'll go there in a second.
Oh, okay. You say, and do you want, okay, not see that one right now?
No, not yet, not yet.
Let's see here. And then there is the, what is over here? If there is one. The, and then under the, I don't see it. On the, what do you call the side thing, the icon bar?
The icon bar. Where does this take you if you go utilize the icon bar?
can I figure? I don't use this one, so.
Okay, it's okay.
I'm one of those that uses everything off of the homepage.
Yes. Now,
I could go to customers,
yes, you can go to customers. Customers where?
on the icon bar thing.
On the icon bar. Yes, that's going to take you to your customer center.
I could bring up the customer.
Okay, you can bring up the customer. So, okay, what do you mean by bringing up the customer?
Like select their account.
Mm-hmm.
Select their account and you'll see everything on the right side of the page. You can still go down to manage transactions, select invoice.
Good. So that's two ways so far.
Okay, let's get out of there. And then you can go quick tab on top.
New transactions on top.
And let's see here. We have their invoices.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Create invoices under the customer tab. You can create invoices there.
Menu bar, customers menu bar. You can create an invoice right here. So there you go. That's 4.
Yeah, sorry, the menu bar. That's the one. I get the names right.
Yes.
Create invoices there.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see here. Right click on the customer.
Yes, you can right click on the customer and be able to create the invoice this way. Right here, create invoices. Good. That's 5. And again, the last one is going to be a hidden one. If you do actually utilize your income tracker.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, so if you do utilize your income tracker, it is going to be manage transactions at the bottom. And then create your invoices that way. Yes. So that's 6 different ways that you can enter in an invoice. Now, the reason why I want you to be particular, especially in navigation, is because when you actually take the certification exam, you could be asked a navigation question, meaning how do you enter in a sales receipt? You're going to have to be very specific on location. So again, the home page, right?
Right, yeah.
The menu bar.
Say where.
Exactly. The icon bar. New transactions in the customer center. Okay, so that's also going to be partially my exam as well. Is I'm going to ask you a specific question and I'm going to give you a sequence of steps that you need to take. So, for example, I'm going to be customer center on the home page, then new transaction in the customer center. Okay, so very, very important because even on your certification exam, you will be asked to enter in a transaction and you need to know every single way. And they're not going to say just memorize what's in the book. No, they're going to exercise you and make sure that you can enter in a transaction in multiple ways. So it's actually allowing you to become a professional in QuickBooks, right? An expert in QuickBooks. You need to be able to enter in the information in all directions. So that's also one key factor about the navigation portion of the actual QuickBooks certification exam. You will be asked to enter in a particular transaction, and if it's not available, you got to try the other ways to be able to enter in the same exact transaction. So again, I just closed out every window, so I'm just going to go ahead and go straight to my home page because, again, you're right. It is the easiest, and it's right there. Okay? So again, we're going to be typing in, I think it's Sarah and Michael. We can find them under Anderson Wedding, Wilson, Sarah, and Michael. Okay? What class do they belong to?
San Jose.
They too are a San Jose. Okay. After this, we'll take a quick break. San Jose. Again, I think this is actually on the 28th of January, 2019. And this invoice, of course, is continuation, so it's going to be invoice 107. Okay? Now, of course, this person doesn't get a discount for any reason because we set them as net 30. However, we have a special sale that's going on today. So first off, I need to enter in all my information before I can go ahead and give them a discount. So let's go ahead and type in, let's see what they got. They purchased a custom camera or camera SR. Okay, hold on. That is quantity. They purchased 3 of them. Item is the camera SR32. Okay. And of course, it's going to automatically come through here. It is a taxable item, so therefore it is subject to tax. All right. They also bought 1 camera lens. Okay, so 1 lens. Here you go. Type that in. It fills the information there for you. Now the next step says that now I'm going to show you why you need to do this first in order to activate the discount item. So again, when we talked about items, there was an item type that you can create, which is the discount item. Discount item. So again, if you do plan to have a store-wide discount, you can. This is how you apply it on either a receipt or an invoice, right? So then when you're in the store, right, if you look at a receipt, it gives everything in full price, and then it has the discount line item. So this works the same exact way here too. If you go ahead and, not here, but if you go ahead and go into your item and type in discount, and it says discount 10%. So once you've entered that in, what's going to happen is it's going to give you a negative number. And then boom. Now, notice this. It only discounts the line item above it. So let's look at this carefully. We got 10% off of the $324.98, giving me a grand total of $32.50 discount. Okay? Now, why is it that I'm only discounting that particular item? Okay? It's because you need to enter in another line item in order to calculate the grand total. Now, in case you have our particular item that, let's say, all cameras are 40% off, lenses are 30% off. If you have that kind of notion or that kind of factor, then you're going to have to enter in one item at a time, because not everything is going to be discounted at 10%. So that's the notion that QuickBooks has set up for you, is that each item could have a different discount rate. Okay, your sale can consist of all sorts of discounts, but again, like for example, if you go clothing shopping, right, they're going to say this section's all 40% off, this section's 70% off, and this section is 50% off, right? So therefore, that's the reason why QuickBooks has this little key factor, is that it will just discount the line above it. Now, for this particular example, I don't want to discount the line before it. I want to discount the total grand total. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to enter in an account or a line, an item called the subtotal item. Okay. Once you kick in that subtotal item, now it's actually going to calculate you a grand total right here, saying, well, what $2,000 plus $300 should give you the $2,412. And then now you're able to apply the discount for the 10% off. And then it's going to calculate based on the line item above it, which is your subtotal item, which gives you your correct amount of the discount to be $241. Okay, so that's the whole notion on this, and that's why you need to be very careful, especially when you're dealing with giving a store-wide discount and you're managing it by placing this item in here. It's only going to discount the line above it. Okay, so for this kind of instance, if you are allowing a 10% off in general, everything in the store is 10% off, then go ahead and subtotal it and then go ahead and apply the discount. So that's all I just wanted to show you here, that you can do this as well. Okay? And again, thank you for your business. Okay? And other thing that you want to type in here is going to be camera and lens 10% store discount. Okay, or if it's Memorial Day, then type in Memorial Day sale, or if it's some kind of holiday. All right, so this one coming up, Martin Luther King discount, sale discount. Okay, so you could be particular or specific on exactly why the reasons why you have sales. Okay, but in this case, I'm just throwing it out there. It's a 10% discount because I chose today to just have the sale discount. All right. And that's what you can utilize, especially when you have a store-wide discount or you're offering a discount to particular people. Again, this is different from actually doing in actual terms. Okay. So here you go. Everything looks good. This is an invoice. So it's due in the next 30 days. Everything looks good. We can go ahead and save and close. And then it's going to say, oh, but you also made changes to this person. The credit limit of the Anderson wedding is gone over. So this is the part I was talking about. It's going to notify you in this particular client has went over their credit limit. So this is where you could say, yes, you can record the transaction. It's fine. They're going to pay you eventually. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes to validate that this is an actual transaction and bypass it and just say okay. But if you have that type of mentality where, hey, I gave you an $8,000 credit limit, you've already maxed out $6,000 of it, and I don't see you making any payments, then you can give the close call to say, I'm sorry, you went over your credit limit. Unfortunately, you need to pay your bill first, and then we can go ahead and allow you to go to make your to validate the next purchase. Okay, so that is that particular part where you can actually enter in discounted line items in an invoice or a sales form. All right. Any questions in regards to this section?
No.
No. Okay, good. It is now 2:52, so I'm gonna call break at 2:55. Go ahead and take a nice 20-minute break and be back by 3:15.
Okie doke.
Okay.
All righty.
All right. See you then.
Then.